Okay, so this is problem 6 in the mock. So you can pause the video and read the question. So here what we have to do is we have to accept a 10-digit number as input, right? So the data entry operator is doing some kind of data entry where two keys are faulty. Okay, they are not working fine. So they are unreliable as the question says. So these keys are L and O, right? Small L and small O. So as a replacement for 0 and 1 are unreliable, right? So I pardon me, so 0 and 1 are the keys which are unreliable, and as a replacement for that, this data entry operator uses L because it looks similar to 1, and O because it looks similar to 0. Okay, so this is a 10 digit number. Okay, so it's a number, but then sometimes instead of a 0 there'll be a O, and instead of L there'll be 1. Okay, so our job is to find out the number of mistakes if there are any. So we have to print the number of mistakes, and in the next line in the output you have to print the correct phone number if there are mistakes. Okay, let's quickly take a look at the test cases. So let's take this test case. Okay, so notice that there are three mistakes. There are two O's and one L. Okay, so there are two O's and one L, and instead of the zeros and ones, so there are three mistakes, and on the next line you have the correct phone number. In the next test case, you see that there are no mistakes. Therefore, you just print no mistakes. You don't have to print the correct phone number. Okay, so let's take this as our running example for this problem. Okay, so let's increase the font size, comment this out, and have this example. So, how do we go about solving this? First thing is we have to accept input. Let's accept the input as PNO. It's a phone number, right? 10-digit number. So let's accept this as input. So it's we have to treat it as a string. Okay, we have to retain it as a string. Now, how do we find out if there are any mistakes or not? We just have to count the number of times O occurs, okay, and the number of times L occurs, and if we add the two occurrences, the counts of these two occurrences, that will give us the total number of mistakes. Okay, so it's as simple as pno.count. Count is the string method that helps us count if a particular substring is present in the string using which we are calling the method, right? So this will tell us how many times O is found in the phone number. So let's call this O count, and then L count will be the number of times the letter L is present in this number PNO. So what do we have to do? So number of mistakes, right? So we can look at the number of mistakes as the O count plus L count, right? So this is the number of mistakes. So if the number of mistakes is equal to 0, what does that mean? It means that there are no mistakes, so you can print no mistakes. So you have to be a bit careful here. You have to print exactly what is expected of you to print, right? So if you go and look at the test case area, N is in capital, there is exactly one space between no and mistake. So print just that, okay? Don't print no with a no mistakes with a capital M or no mistakes with a small m, right? All this is unacceptable. Exactly do what is given there. Okay, so no mistakes. Else what do you do if there are mistakes? Then we have to print the number of mistakes. So let's use an F string here. So this is some number of mistakes. So what will go here? The number of mistakes, right? So these many mistakes have been made. So that's the first line in the output. Second line in the output should be the correct phone number, right? After correcting the mistakes, we have to output the correct phone number. So how do we do that? Just as we use this count method to count the number of occurrences of O and L, we can use the replace method in strings, right? So P and O dot replace, we replace all O's with the string containing 0, right? We have to be careful here. So we can't just add the integer 0, right? So we are dealing with strings here. So you have to replace all occurrences of the string O with the string 0. Okay, so this will return a string. Okay, this does not replace the string in place. Remember this, strings are immutable, right? So strings are immutable, meaning you can't do something like p and o of say 1 equal to 0, right? Something like this is impossible, so you can't do this with strings. Strings are immutable. So this operation here, dot replace, is not going to affect pno as such, right? It's not going to disturb pno at all. It cannot disturb pno, which is what I mean when I say that this replacement will not happen in place. So it will return a new string, and we have to store that somewhere. What we'll do is, instead of creating a new variable, we'll overwrite pno itself. Okay. So now after line 14 is executed, pno will store the correct phone number, not the correct phone number, right? But it will have all o's replaced with 0. So it's partially correct, right? It's a partially correct phone number. There may still be some else that are remaining, which have to be converted into ones. So the syntax, or the logic is similar, right? So sorry, the logic is similar. So we replace all else with ones. So that's the idea. And you, this is the syntax. Okay. So you call replace method. The first argument that you pass to the replace method is what? The string which you wish to replace. Okay, in this case, it's a single character, but still, so it's a string of length 1, right? All characters are strings of length 1 in Python. So I wish to replace the string L with the string 1. Okay, that's how you do it. Now, one final point regarding this replace method is that when you call replace, it replaces all occurrences of this particular string. So in this case, let's say o occurs 3 times in the phone number. Every single occurrence of o will be replaced with 0. Okay, so remember that pno or string dot replace replaces all occurrences of the first string that's passed as argument with the second string. Okay, so that's something you have to remember. Now you have to print pno. That's the only thing that's remaining. So let's first go ahead and run this and see if our solution is correct. Okay, 5 out of 5 private tests have passed. So this is one way of solving the problem. Now, yeah, now let's go back. I'll delete the whole thing and we'll get started from scratch. So pno equal to input of, that remains the same. I accept input and store it in this phone number variable called pno. Now assume for the moment that you are in the OPP, you are writing the OPP, and then you have forgotten the two string methods. You have forgotten count and replace, right? For some reason, you're not able to recall those two string methods, but you still have to solve the problem, right? So what do you do in such a situation? You must remember that you can always iterate over a string. Okay, you can always iterate over a string. So let's do that. We'll iterate character by character. In this case, digit by digit, right? For digit in piano, for each digit in piano, first we'll count the mistakes. Okay, so let's call this number of mistakes. Initially, the number of mistakes is 0. Okay, if digit is double equal to, it happens to be a small o, that's a mistake, right? So I increment mistakes. So number of mistakes equal to number of mistakes plus 1. I could do that, or I can, in order to save time, I can do this as plus equal to 1. Okay, else if the digit is an L, then also you have a mistake. Okay, if it's not o or L, it's some other proper number. Okay, between 0 to 9, so we don't need to increment number of mistakes, right? Now I'm just working on the no mistakes part for now. So if number of mistakes double equal to 0, then we print no mistakes. Okay, so far what we have taken care of is the part where there are no mistakes. Now if there are mistakes, what do you do? We have to create a new string, a new phone number with all the mistakes corrected in that particular string. Let's call it out underscore phone number. Okay, out number, or I could call it correct number. So correct is too long, so let me just call it out underscore pno. So if you encounter o, if the digit is o, what should you do? You have to replace that particular digit. Okay, you have to replace that particular digit with 0. So the way we will do it is, we will use string concatenation to achieve this, right? So sorry, this is a mistake I made here. Out underscore PNO should be an empty string to begin with. Okay, in each iteration of the loop, we'll add one digit to PNO. So let me do the following. Okay, so let me start from the beginning. So in each iteration of the for loop, what do? We have to add one digit to the phone number. There will be 10 iterations, right? So there will be, the loop will run 10 times, or it will have 10 iterations. Now in each iteration, I have to add a digit. So what digit should I add? If there are no mistakes, right, that will go into the else part. If there are no mistakes, then I just have to add digit itself. Okay, digit is a correct digit here. Whatever digit that you see here, there are, it's not O, it's not L, so it's some valid number between 0 to 9. So I can just go ahead and concatenate that particular digit to out the string out. If it is a mistake, and if it's a mistake where an O occurs instead of a 0, then I have to concatenate the digit 0, right, the string containing 0. If it is this kind of a mistake, I have to concatenate 1. So notice that in every iteration of the loop, one digit is added to the string out underscore PNO. So there are, this runs 10 times, right? So the final length of out underscore PNO will be 10. And we can now go ahead and print the number of mistakes here. So there are, this is an F string. This is num underscore mistakes. That part remains the same, mistakes. And then we print the correct phone number, which is out underscore PNO. Okay, so this is the other way of solving this problem. Let's go ahead and see if this also is correct. Oh no, so there is a mistake. So what is the mistake? Let's go down to the test case area. So out is not defined. Oh, I'm sorry. So there is, I used out here. It's actually out underscore PNO, right? So this should be out underscore PNO. Likewise, this should also be out underscore PNO. And finally, this one should also be out underscore PNO, right? And here also, here it's correct. Okay, so let's now, hopefully this is the only mistake. Let's see if that is the case. Okay, 5 out of 5 private tests have passed. Okay, so that is another way of solving it. This works by using this for loop where we iterate over the digits in the string. Now, one small variation to this, right? So instead of having this line 8, line 11, and line 13, right, having three such places where we concatenate strings, what we could do is we could decide that we are going to concatenate at only one place. Okay, so I'll remove the else. Okay, I'll just write this down and we'll see how it works. So see what's happening here now. I'm removing all this. Okay, I'm removing this part where we are concatenating. In fact, I'll remove this also. So let's go over this. If digit is Z is O, then you have a mistake. Now, what do you have to add? If the digit is O, you have to add O, right? I'll overwrite digit here as O. In this part of the if block, I will overwrite digit as 1. There is no else needed here, right? If there is no mistake, digit is correct by default, it is correct. Okay, now I can just add digit to out. Okay, I can concatenate out and digit. Okay, so what I have done is a slight variation from the previous solution. What was there earlier was if else, and then in each of the if in the if block, in the else if block, in the else block, what we were doing is we were having out equal to out plus digit, right? It was out plus digit or it was out plus 0, whatever, right? I don't exactly remember what was there previously, but there were three places where we were having this statement out equal to out plus something. Now what we have done in this solution is we have moved that to line 12. There is only one place where we are adding digit to out. Okay, and we are fixing what this digit should be inside the if block and the else if blocks, right? So that's what we are doing. So what is the advantage of this? The advantage of this is when you read this piece of code, it's very clear what is happening. In every iteration of the for loop, one character is being added to the string out underscore pno. Again, this is a mistake. So in every iteration of the for loop, focus on line number 12. In every iteration of the for loop, some digit gets added to out underscore pno. Okay, that's what is happening. So 10 iterations, 10 digits. Okay, so that's very clear from what is happening in line 12. So what is the responsibility of the lines that come before it? It is to determine what digit to add. Okay, if it is a mistake, then you have to change digit to either 0 or 1. If it is not a mistake, then you don't really need to tamper with digit. You can add it as it is. Okay, let's again go ahead and see if this works. It's a very small variation from the previous solution. Okay, 5 out of 5 private tests have passed. Okay, so that is the end of the solution to the sixth problem in the mock.